Breaking news, James Harden is going to be a free agent. He is declining his $47 million option, according to multiple reports. But The Athletic reports that the former MVP does intend to return to the Sixers in free agency. He'll be eligible to sign a 5-year max with Philly or a 4-year deal with another team. He was traded to the Sixers midway through last season, averaged 21 points and 10.5 assists per game, teaming up with Joel Embiid, but could not get Philly over the hump. All right, let's get more on this with Colin Ward-Heninger. Colin, explain this to us. Why do we have a star like James Harden opting out to become a free agent if we're being told he's just going to go right back there anyway?
Yeah, so normally when a star opts out of the contract, like we just saw with Bradley Beal, it means they're going to sign a 5-year max extension. Reportedly, that's not the case with Harden. What he's going to do is sign a new contract, but it's going to be for a little bit lower salary value. So that allows the 76ers the maneuverability to go out and add pieces around Joel Embiid and around James Harden and Tyrese Maxey to help improve that roster. PJ Tucker has already been linked to them as a possible free agent acquisition. This opens the possibilities of adding even more around them. So really, this is obviously a huge win for the 76ers because there was some talk early, especially after James Harden got traded to the 76ers, that he was going to command that 5-year max. It sounds like he's willing to take less, which will obviously give the 76ers more options moving forward in terms of building that roster around him.
And if you're a Lakers fan and you see Russell Westbrook deciding to opt into that $47 million and you go over to Philly and Harden opts out to save money, how you feeling?
Yeah, they must be kicking themselves, obviously, for the 4,000th time since they made the Russell Westbrook trade. There was obviously, no option that involved Russell Westbrook signing a new contract with the Lakers. So he's like, yeah, I'm just going to take my money. This is a clear indication that James Harden feels that he can win a championship in Philadelphia, and he's willing to take less money to do that. There's also reports, not that surprisingly, that came out along with this decision that say James Harden is already working out and in great shape, ready for next season. So, maybe Daryl Morey, the James Harden whisperer, has gotten into his star's ear. They obviously worked together in Houston, and he's decided that, look, after what we saw in the playoffs last season, James Harden is clearly not a number one. He may not even be a number two. So he's willing to take less money, which is probably what he's going to deserve over the next few seasons. And that's going to allow the 76ers to improve around him. So a huge decision from James Harden in terms of the future of the 76ers and being able to save that money moving forward.
I remember when this trade happened, it was Super Bowl week, and a lot of our analysts and experts thought that the Nets got the better end of this deal with Ben Simmons going there. He of course, did not play for them at all last season. How did the James Harden to Philadelphia experiment go? Why didn't it work to get them over the hump, and what do they need to be able to do that next season?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so far, I've heard a lot of people say that in terms of winners and losers of that trade, we're all losers, the fans, because we haven't seen Ben Simmons play and we had to watch James Harden do whatever he did in the playoffs last season. So moving forward, really what you want to see from James Harden is his early days with the Nets when he and Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant were playing, and James Harden was more in that point guard facilitator role. He even said after that horrific exit by the 76ers where he barely attempted any shots in the second half, saying that, I'm the point guard and I was looking for my teammates. If that's the role he wants to play, then he's going to have to work that out with the coaching staff and with Joel Embiid and the other pieces they have around them. But ideally, that's what they get, because part of the reason people thought that the 76ers were a loser in that trade is because everyone expected him to get that max extension or max contract moving forward. Now that that's not the case, they could have him on a more affordable deal that could closer approximate the type of player that you have. And with Tyrese Maxey's development, Joel Embiid is obviously the number one in that team. You could be looking at James Harden as potentially the third best player on this team moving forward, which is pretty good if you're trying to win a championship.
$47.3 million is what he would have earned had he opted in. What do you expect the new reported deal to look like?
Yeah, that's going to be tough. There were reports that he was going to opt into this and then sign a 2-year extension. Now that he's opted out, I would imagine he would probably want more years. So maybe we're looking in the 30, 35 million per year range, which is obviously a huge discount for the 76ers. I can speculate that. I don't have any reporting on it. But it sounds like James Harden is willing to look towards the future of this franchise and say, look, if you're on the books for Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris and me for all these years, it's going to be very hard to build a championship contender. So the fact that he's willing to opt out of this year and also take less money moving forward is a great sign that, potentially money isn't the number one thing for him. He's obviously already made a ton of it. So taking a little bit less, I think, is realistic for him moving forward on this next contract.
All right, so with free agency beginning tomorrow, two big names have opted out but are expected to return. James Harden to Philadelphia, Bradley Beal to Washington. Colin Ward-Heninger with us here on CBS Sports HQ.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.